Hi, family. Of course, it's absolutely great to be back with you for another season of our reading. And I've skipped away from the letter in Straight Places that we were reading last. I've moved over to prayer letter number 57, which is entitled Dreaming God's Dream for Your Life. And the lead text is one of my favorite texts, Jeremiah 29:11, which I know you know, where God promises that he does not plan us any evil, but his thoughts of us are thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give us a future and a hope. So this letter is, I have here started September 4, 2010. So I say, dear friends, it is significant that we have come full circle. It was on the 3rd of September 2003 that I started my writing journey, which has run consistently along with my health journey. My mother has always said that God has answered her prayers for me beyond her wildest dreams. I think that even her wildest dreams have fallen short of God's best for me. As a young teenage mother having to abort her school career to allow me to start my life's journey on the 21st of September 1956, and if you are a better mathematician than I am, you would know that this year, September 21, that I'm going to turn 70. To God be the glory. To God be the glory. So I go on to say, my mom, she had options, but she chose life for me. I was not a mistake. God had a plan for my life even before I was born. In the privacy and quiet of our communion time, I have said to him, you're sure doing a thing with your little bastard girl. The term bastard has its own distasteful connotations. However, none of us determines the circumstances of our birth, and therefore God does not engage in discrimination as some of us as human beings do. He treats each person fairly, even to the extent of taking into account the circumstances of one's birth. All right, I go on to say, I believe it was the prayers, support, and early training of my mother which have contributed to putting me on God's pathway for my life. I became a Seventh-day Adventist before my mom. She did or said nothing to hinder me in my personal walk with God as a young child. The world owes much to mothers who prayerfully support their children. I cannot but reflect on what Admiral Barry Black said about his mother. She was baptized as a Seventh-day Adventist when she was pregnant with him, and she prayed that the child in her womb would be anointed. Even her wildest dreams could not have envisaged how God would magnanimously answer that prayer. This section is entitled Spiritual Dreams. God has dreams for our lives written in our book of life even before you were born, even before we were born. You believe that? I think it was a stroke of divine orchestration for me to come upon Dr. Black's sermon, How to Supersize Your Faith, and then his book, From the Hood to the Hill, in the last stages of my writing journey. The book has certainly engaged my interest, riveted as I was even up to 2 a.m. one morning. Loud laughter pealed from my bedroom as the dry wit and humor of Dr. Black overcame me at times. I was not being insensitive, and he was out of the island. I followed Dr. Black with intense interest as he spoke about listening to the sermons of Dr. Peter Marshall as a little 8-year-old lad. My ears perked up because Peter Marshall is the husband of one of my favorite female writers, Catherine Marshall. It is from her book that I learned about the concept of dreaming prayers. What thoroughly fascinated me as I listened in almost mesmerized fashion was when Dr. Black described what he saw as the effect of listening repeatedly to those sermons by Peter Marshall. He listened until he could recite the sermon by heart. He replayed the sermon for us, capturing, no doubt, the quaint Scottish accent and tone of Peter Marshall. His reenactment certainly caused me to chuckle as I listened to his simulation. Despite its engaging humor, the profundity of what he was saying was certainly not lost on me. So I'm going to pause here. Please come back. This letter is extremely interesting. Do you think that God has dreams for your life? I know he had dreams for my life. I just did not know what the dreams were, except that they were all good dreams. Like, pick up with me. Actually, I would like you to read the whole letter. It is so good. And to think that Chaplain Black, Dr. Barry Black, he is still the chaplain of the U.S. Senate now. It is an amazing, it's an amazing story. All right, so we'll pick up again as you return and I return by God's grace. Thank you. Bye.